Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name's Ivana Herenque if you are new here, and if you're not, thank you for coming back. Today is Tuesday, September the 7th, and we're taking a little bit of kind of slow entry into the week. We're going to talk about football today, which is something I know a lot of people enjoyed over their long weekend. Now, we are going to have to talk about some coronavirus things today as well. We're keeping it about football, and that is because there are some new rules to get in to Bryant-Denny Stadium, around Tuscaloosa, etc. If you are planning to go to game day, you are going to want to watch this. So today I am joined by our own Ben Flanagan. Ben actually just left a few minutes ago a press conference in Tuscaloosa where these new rules about game day at the University of Alabama were released. So Ben, we're going to get into all the details in just a minute. I know you have a story on this you published really fast before jumping on here, but the first thing that I think everybody wants to know is, are you going to have to be vaccinated to get into Bryant-Denny Stadium?
No, you will not have to be vaccinated. You will not have to show proof of vaccination, nor will you have to show proof of a negative test to get into Bryant-Denny Stadium. I know that there are some college stadiums throughout the country, including LSU, who are requiring proof of vaccination, proof of negative test. Alabama will not be part of that wave. They are going to allow for 100% capacity in Bryant-Denny Stadium during the 2021 season, but they will not require that. The only thing that they ask basically is that UA fans or any fan who comes to a game, if you have COVID-19, if you have COVID-19 symptoms, if you've been exposed to anybody who's COVID positive, they basically just ask that you not come to the game. So it's kind of an honor system.
But as you said, you sent me something that you got from this press conference. I've got it printed out in front of me, and it says fans who have COVID-19 or COVID-19 symptoms, like you just said, have been exposed to somebody who is COVID positive or have been directed by a healthcare professional to be in quarantine or isolation for a period that includes game day are asked to not come to the game. They are asked to not come to the game, but there does not seem to be any actual measures in place to ensure that they don't come to the game, Ben. I know you just said, but it's worth repeating. There is no proof of a negative coronavirus test, and there is no proof of vaccination required. Either of those things, neither are required to get into the stadium for game day. Ben, I know that you said some places are requiring that. We know this is big news from UA going 100% capacity for these football games. We know how big Bryant-Denny is. We know that people are ready to get into that stadium. But do we know if they're going to do even temperature checks or anything like that at the gate?
No temperature checks. That at least wasn't part of UA's announcement today. I don't see it anywhere in UA Game Day's policies, and you can go to uaGameDay.com, RollTide.com to get more information on this. You can go to our website where I just posted a story that has all this information that UA just released. So no temperature checks that I can see. Masks are not even required to enter the stadium, nor are they required while you're inside the stadium. The only requirement is basically that they are encouraged, but they're not mandated in outdoor areas at the stadium. Tailgating areas in and around the stadium, masks will be required. The only requirement that I see from UA or that they have announced so far is that they'll be required on elevators, that they'll be required in internal club spaces of Bryant-Denny Stadium, regardless of distancing, and unless you are actively drinking or eating inside the stadium or in those internal club spaces. So basically, masks are required inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. But if you're just in your seats, if you're roaming the outdoor areas and outdoor spaces at the stadium, then masks are not required.
Well, and we know that there are boxes at the stadium, for lack of a better word. There are those indoor areas, but the majority of the stadium, the majority of people that are going to go to the game inside of the stadium are going to be sitting in the stadium, in the open air part, not in the boxes and not in any other fan area or booster club area. So for the average person going into the game, going into the bleacher kind of style seating of the game, the student section, alumni section, and just people who buy general admission tickets, do they have to wear masks, Ben?
No. No, again, I mean, if you're indoors anywhere in the stadium, then they will be required. And again, they are encouraged. UA has been specific about encouraging people to wear masks, but they are not requiring people to do so once they're inside the stadium. So you don't have to, but if you want to, you certainly can. They're not prohibited, that's for sure. So, yeah, if you want to wear a mask, you can wear one. But if you don't want to wear one, UA will not require you to wear a mask inside Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Now, we know as well as part of this press conference, and again, you sent me this information, they said that masks, or face coverings must be worn by everybody in all non-residential campus buildings on campus. So that you were talking about the boxes and other places in the stadium. That also includes the game day shuttles, again, on elevators and places that are inside the stadium. I know that's kind of confusing, but if you are in the open air part of the stadium, no mask required there by UA. Now, Ben, let's get on to a couple of other things that are happening with game day. I know that's the one that everybody wanted to know. You said that you did not hear any information about temperature checks, but what about anything else that's happening that's new this year? We know that tailgating was not allowed last year in the 2020 season. So what's new with tailgating?
Tailgating will be allowed during the 2021 season. I know that this was a source of frustration and sadness for a lot of Alabama fans during the 2020 season when tailgating was essentially banned on campus. There was signage all over the quad and elsewhere on campus that said no tailgating allowed. Obviously, due to the pandemic, there was obviously 20% capacity allowed in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So UA did its best to take protocols and measures and very restrictive measures in terms of slowing the spread as best it could during the 2020 season. Those are not around as much in 2021. And tailgating, as far as I can tell with UA, based on their announcement and based on talking to some officials just a few minutes ago, tailgating will be allowed basically at 100% full go.
So there is no, I know if you've never been to tailgating spots, there is, this is popular at all schools, not just UA, but especially all SEC schools. The tailgating spots kind of end up blending together. At a point, you can be in between several people's tailgates, you can be at several people's tents, etc. So are there any measures to kind of cordon off areas for different tailgates or to limit the amount of people who are tailgating or setting up tents in that area?
The UA game day official was asked this specifically. He said, as of now, no. It'll basically look like it did before COVID, essentially back in 2019 and prior to that. So tailgating will look very familiar to Alabama fans. Free quad tailgating is located to the west side of the quad. Reservations are not required. It's first come, first serve. Fans can drop off their tailgating equipment on the quad Friday night between 6 and 8 p.m., Saturday between 7 and 10 a.m. So again, very similar to pre-pandemic policies that UA had for things like tailgating. And just a reminder, tailgating was not allowed in 2020, nor was it allowed for the 2021 A-Day spring game back in April, I believe. So I think that this is going to be something that excites a lot of the fan base, and people are going to be raring to go to get back out there and tailgate. I mean, on the plus side, Ivana, if people are concerned about this, tailgating is obviously done outside. Obviously, there are tents that people stand under, and it will be a large gathering, but it is an outdoor event. And the way UA put it was just it'll be like any other outdoor event. And so it's basically up to the fans whether or not they want to go inside the stadium, whether or not they want to go tailgate on campus. It's their choice, essentially.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but students at UA that are going into class, indoors class buildings, they are required to wear masks to go to class. Is that correct?
Yes, as of now, indoor mask policy, I think, has been extended through October 1st, I believe. They recently announced those updates.
Interesting to note. A good question here from John. John says, "Do people have to wear masks when they're inside of their tents?" I'm assuming he means during the tailgating time.
No, they do not have to wear masks inside their tents because I believe that would be considered an outdoor space despite being under a tent. Like I said, I have not heard of many, if any, restrictions on the quad or at least on campus when it comes to tailgating. Like I said, it's going to be tailgating like you're used to it. So until UA announces any more restrictions, I don't know of any. So no masks required on the quad since, again, it's an outdoor space on campus. And so people can tailgate like they normally would if they choose to do so.
Interesting. Now, Ben, there's another kind of interesting change to game day that I thought was of note, and that is that this mobile ticketing process. The school seems to be saying they're not going to take any printed at-home tickets. You've got to have a mobile ticket if you are trying to get into Bryant-Denny. Is that true?
Yes, and this started in 2020, obviously with the pandemic. Ticketing and parking went mobile only. This enabled contactless entry into all venues on campus. And, according to UA, and I'll just say in quotes, mobile only ticketing provides a safe fan experience with quick and convenient entry on game day. Mobile ticketing also reduces the risk of lost, stolen, or counterfeit tickets while providing the ability to easily manage, transfer, sell tickets anytime from a smartphone. So basically, you need a smartphone too with this mobile ticketing plan. They encourage fans to download tickets before game day, but print at-home tickets are no longer available. Mobile tickets are only valid when presented on a smartphone. And if you do not have a smartphone, you can contact the Athletics ticket office on the quad between 6 and 8 p.m. on Fridays, and then 7 to 10 a.m. on game days. That's in our story, and we have links to more information on mobile ticketing, but there will not be paper or printed tickets allowed in 2021, and maybe even moving forward. Who knows?
I know, and that's really interesting, Ben, because I think sometimes there is an assumption that nobody uses paper tickets. But I know that I am a person who uses paper tickets. I don't know how to add things to the wallet on my phone, and I'm pretty good at technology. So it's just one of those things that everything is changing, everything's moving more technology based, and whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. In those hours that if you don't have a smartphone or way to get mobile tickets, the hours to contact that ticket office again are in your story, but it's kind of a limited time frame for you to make that call to the office to say, look, what do? I don't have a smartphone.
Yeah, they must be pretty confident that many Alabama fans have smartphones and are capable of using ticketless entry, essentially. Look, I mean, it's 2021. It's the wave of the future, right? In terms of no printed tickets. I guess that's the direction that we were moving in anyway, but this is obviously a measure that they took in 2020 to enhance their safety protocols on campus, especially on game days. Cash is another thing. There won't be any cash allowed, at least cash transactions allowed in Bryant-Denny Stadium and elsewhere on campus, I believe, another safety measure due to the pandemic. So make sure you have your cards handy because there will only be digital transactions allowed, and that's also true for tickets. It's going to be mobile ticketing only this year.
Interesting. Now, question here, how will mask wearing be enforced in the skyboxes and in other indoor areas at Bryant-Denny?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I just assume that there will be UA officials. I mean, there are obviously a lot of UA official security guards all over Bryant-Denny Stadium on game days. Fans are very used to seeing this. So I'm guessing those folks, the personnel from UA, if they see you without a mask, the idea would be that they just tell you to put it back on. So they weren't specific in terms of how they would enforce that. But I have to assume if people are indoors, if they're in those clubs, if they're on the elevators, then somebody from UA will probably, hopefully, enforce that rule.
A lot of things that are going to be interesting to see how they play out, Ben. So when is the first at-home Alabama game?
This Saturday in Tuscaloosa. This Saturday, I believe kickoff is 3 p.m. in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Alabama is taking on Mercer after a big win in Atlanta this past weekend when Alabama beat Miami 44-13 in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Got their season kicked off the right way, the way that fans are certainly used to. And Alabama's 1-0 heading into this big showdown against non-conference opponent Mercer, who's coming off a big win themselves. I think they beat a team 69-0 during their first week in action. So huge game for Alabama. The next week they play Florida in Gainesville. So, people could see this as even a trap game for Alabama. Alabama's played Mercer in the recent past. This game is again at 3 p.m. Central Time. It'll air on SEC Network if you're unable to go to the game in person. So it's the home opener in Tuscaloosa. It's always an exciting time. It was even exciting last year. Surreal to say the least when there was only 20% capacity allowed in Bryant-Denny Stadium, but home games in Tuscaloosa are obviously really special, especially when they kick off, no matter the opponent. And so I know Alabama fans are extremely excited. I just hope that they are safe, are careful traveling, and able to, stay safe and have fun this weekend as the season kicks off in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely. So again, you can find all of these changes, all of the information that Ben and I talked about today in a story on AL.com. We've linked it here in the comments so you can check that out. If you have any questions, I know that myself or Ben would be happy to answer them. You can leave them in the comments or email them. And obviously my dog downstairs is, I don't know who he's pulling for, but I don't know if it's Alabama. I'll have to ask him after this. Ben, thank you so much for this news today. Again, I know that it just broke this morning, so thank you for coming on and updating us.
Thank you, Ivana. We'll know more soon.
Everybody watching, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.